Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the third, act of Take to Take. My name is Luke Burrows, alongside, as per usual, Nicholas Robinson and Patrick Tallon. We're back after 2 months, almost exactly. Yeah. Our last show was early December, and a lot has changed. How was the break for you two?
Very good. Very relaxing.
Yeah, got to watch lots of hockey, lots of fun time of year during the break with the World Juniors, and we had the All-Star game recently, so lots of fun, lots of hockey.
Lots of hockey. Okay, so we will get right into it. We can start with something that we added in recently because it's news today. Dustin, is it today or yesterday?
No, today.
Just came out.
Yeah, Dustin Byfuglien obviously had ankle surgery back in October, and then it was announced today that, and I quote from TSN, they are working toward a mutual contract termination over the next several days, according to multiple sources, which would formally end his suspension and bring to a close the grievance Byfuglien filed in November. So that basically essentially allows him to become a UFA, which, for better or for worse, means something for him. Thoughts?
Well, it wasn't really clear before if it was because it said in the article he was contemplating retirement, but there's also suggestions that he just might not like playing in Winnipeg. Whether or not this is the end of it for him, I see people are kind of upset on Twitter, but I think at the end of the day, these are athletes, and if they don't want to play anymore, they have the right to do so. Now, what happened with the grievance and all that stuff, I'm not really too familiar with, but I think at the end of the day, people shouldn't be upset at Byfuglien if he wants to do this, or if he wants to play somewhere else. Like it's entirely his decision.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever that he didn't want to play in Winnipeg. I think a lot of it was he wanted to be compensated for missing all the time he did. He wanted to be financially compensated for that because of it supposedly being a legitimate hockey injury, but he did indicate on his year-end physical that it was not, and we always knew the NHL was going to battle to protect the legitimacy of that year-end document that players sign off on. So it's not surprising to see that it's ended this way. So what that means for him going forward, we're going to see. He will probably be pretty coveted if he hits the open market all of a sudden because he's got a reputation as a playoff performer and a good player. So that'll help him and give the Winnipeg Jets probably some much-needed cap relief.
Yep.
Cool,
okay,
cool.
So as everyone, not everyone, as most people know and understand, the decade ended 1 month ago.
Depends who you ask.
Yeah, it depends on who you ask, but for most normal people, we're a month into a new decade. And I think the 2010s for all of us was the first full decade that we, kind of paid attention to sport from beginning to end, unless you were watching games when you were 0. So I want to ask you guys, so there's a few different categories here. I want to start by asking you guys so Nick, Ottawa, Pat, Montreal, myself, Vancouver, when do you think your team reached its peak and its, trough, I guess, for the last 10 years?
Well, Ottawa's sort of like that's a pretty easy answer. 2016-17 was sort of the peak for the team. That was their farthest playoff run of the decade when they reached the conference final. And they really never even came close to that at any other point in the decade. That's definitely their peak. And I guess the absolute bottom of the barrel is what they've been the past couple of years. Can't get worse.
If you had to narrow it, Ottawa especially, if you had to narrow it down to like 1 month, 1 week.
One specific moment?
Yeah, sure.
As soon as they traded Eric Carlson, September 2018, that was the bottom. They couldn't get worse than that. Or, you know what? I changed that answer. When they traded Mark Stone on top of that, then there was really nothing left.
Yeah.
He was the last one. There was really nothing left after that. So, yeah, that's my answer.
Pat?
Montreal's had 2 very similar low points and high points. 2011 season finished 3rd last, and then they had the 3rd overall pick, and then they went on the run again in 2014. So they went on 2 similar ones, the one in 2010. And honestly, even though the run in 2014 was so exciting with Price and the whole Kreider thing and the Subban-Boston rivalry, I preferred the 2010 run just because that team wasn't supposed to do anything. That team literally had no one. They rode a hot goalie, and Mike Camilleri played out of his mind, and those games are more...
Mike Camilleri, legend.
Yeah, those games are to me were more exciting. That was probably the high point for me as a fan, and just the team, like just what was going on in Montreal was pretty crazy. The lowest point, I would just argue, the past few seasons of not really knowing what's happening. All the few years when at the start of the decade it was transition years, so I guess the lowest point would be right now, because I don't know what's going on.
That was a very roundabout way to say Montreal is at its lowest point right now, even though.
Okay, whatever.
Myself, I think.
Well, that's pretty obvious for Vancouver, right?
The peak, at least. June 15th, 2011, at approximately 7 p.m. Eastern time. After that, it went downhill.
What specifically happened at that time?
And the low point, I would say, I mean, as some people have heard me say, like
Wait,
20...
here, I got a little audio here for the high point.
Oh.
Do you know how cool that is, Luke?
Come on.
I need to wait for a call.
He did the call. They don't do the
I haven't heard the
bullhorn before the call.
Knock the puck loose to Edler. Back in for Alex Burrows. It's up in the air.
That was the weirdest goal. I think that was like the weirdest playoff goal.
I can remember that.
The genuine surprise of everybody there was
because
great.
it took some crazy.
Yeah, but
bounce.
remember, I think BX's goal in the
yeah.
conference finals was even crazier. Not like Game 7 overtime. So obviously, not as. I mean, it did something to the finals, but.
You know who was good at that time was Ottawa Senators soon-to-be legend Alex Burrows.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really good in Ottawa.
So what's the low point?
No, sorry. I think the low point. Well, the low point was the loss against Boston. Or actually, if you're getting specific, that would be the low point. But also the. I don't know. There's 3 years, 2013 to 2017, 4 years, 17 that were they just kind of sucked, and it's weird because they made the playoffs. They made the playoffs for one of those years, but I don't like that series. I don't like that era. Thank goodness they're out of it now. But I could probably say both the low point and high point are both within a 3-month span in spring of 2011. So that's fun.
Nice.
Yeah, that's fair.
Now I want to ask, when do you guys think? What moment, or roughly, if you're averaging moments, when do you think Canada sports peaked over the last decade? And I'm not at all talking hockey, but obviously you're going to consider it.
The golden goal?
Yeah, I had the golden goal as well.
Really?
Yeah.
But, okay, as one, if you... okay, sorry, maybe I should have reworded that. As one moment, I'd maybe agree with you, but don't you think everything that's kind of happened in the past year or so...
What do you mean?
Kind of outweighs that? Like Raptors... Andrescu, you could even go back to...
So we're going to talk about all the sports.
I thought it was specific to hockey.
No, I said no.
Okay.
All sports.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, the past year has been pretty extraordinary. But I would still argue that everything with the 2010 Olympics was extraordinary for this country.
Yeah, that was fun.
Right? Especially like right at the end when Canada just was railing in gold medals. Like that was extraordinary. So,
yeah, but I mean, that's Olympics though. Like you're... Yeah. Okay.
Fair
fair
I don't know
enough.
if we want to get into specifics, like the nitty gritties. Like we're gonna start dividing it down because then does Toronto's big success over the past year with the Raptors and everything, is that really capture all of Canada and all the sports fans?
I feel like Toronto, the Raptors winning was it brought the nation together.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why it's we talked in one of our classes about if the Leafs won the cup versus if the Raptors won the championship, what would be bigger? I think maybe the celebration in Toronto would be bigger if the Leafs won the cup, but I think as a whole, the Raptors winning the championship brings the entire country together. It wasn't specific to just Toronto.
I'm going to sidetrack myself, but if the Leafs were in the Stanley Cup Finals, and I think I know both your answers, but would you guys cheer for them?
No. Why is that?
I would.
I never get the whole I have to
would.
cheer for a Canadian team thing. It's
I think aside from...
Well, it's easy because there's no bitterness or animosity.
Yeah,
between,
there's no animosity with
I would
Toronto.
not as much as either your teams, but there's always something there with Toronto. But I think aside from the kinds of I don't want to point fingers.
We're
but
dwelling
aside
on
from the
the other
kinds of
sports too
fans, don't you think Toronto's story is kind of cool? Everything going on.
Yeah, it would be cool. Yeah, because Andreescu and the Raptors and all that stuff, it would be cool.
No, I mean
and
the
the
Leafs.
story. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like
Okay.
the Leafs being added to that list, it's cool in and of itself. But that doesn't mean I can step back after and say, okay, that was a cool story on its own. But I would never ever cheer for the Leafs. Like
Okay,
it's
I would. There's
but-
few teams I would cheer for over them in the finals. Okay, moving
well,
on.
yeah. Well, no. But
Anyway, what are your reasonable expectations for the next 10 years?
Well, I sort of suppose mine all hinges on the draft lottery in April, because that could go one of two ways. Either we get moved down a bunch of spots and we draft like crap and the Senators end up stagnating for another decade, or they have some lottery balls fall their way and boom. And I guess it all depends if the man upstairs, big EM, decides to sell. That could certainly change the course for the Senators. But again, there's a lot of variables with Ottawa. Ownership, a new arena could potentially be in the works. They've been talking about rebranding forever. And obviously on ice, the team, it all depends on the lottery. So there's a lot of variables with Ottawa. Reasonably what I expect maybe a little bit of luck in the lottery. We get, a couple of players, especially with having 2 picks probably in the top 10, that we get a couple of players that are big cornerstones going forward.
Yep.
And I guess arena, rebranding, all that really nice stuff that I want, all sort of depends on Mr. EM and what he decides to do.
Is he like he who must not be named?
He
now?
who must not be named.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't say it.
Pat?
just quickly, I do have Tankathon ready to go. When you want to run that,
We're gonna run that
simulator.
at the end.
Yeah. Okay. As for Montreal, what do I see ahead? I just wrote mediocrity. But that depends on whether or not Bergevin decides to sell and be a man. And maybe if they start losing a bit more, the lottery balls will fall in their favor. The draft is in Montreal, so
Who do you want to see go if they sell?
I mean, I don't want to see Tatar or Petrie go because they're good hockey players and they're fun to watch, but those players would get you a lot. But yeah, it just depends on the direction they go. And I've been saying for so long, if you're going to contend with Price and Weber, you have to do it now, but they're not going to. And if you're going to build around the young core that they have, you have to sell and get younger assets. So I don't think they're going to do either. I think they're going to be a team that makes the playoffs here and there, maybe wins a playoff series, but consistently kind of, middles about. Like every time they go on a little bit of a streak, they lose 5, win 4. Like it's just the kind of team they are. They're good, and being good is kind of bad because you're not great and you're not bad to get a good pick. So,
Fair enough.
yeah.
A little bit more positively, Vancouver is going to win a cup. I think
Okay.
it's a pretty
Okay.
fair
Alrighty.
assumption. No, but I'm not actually kidding. I think that's a reasonable expectation for the next. I even think 10 years is too much time. By that point, I think like the whole
It's about a decade.
cycle of the team will be over. No, but I think like if you look at who they have now, they don't have anyone huge coming up, but they have enough support. I think it'll be interesting what happens this summer and next summer. But
They have some prospects.
They do.
Right off the face-off, here's Brad
What's this?
Marchand for Boston, trying to carry the puck into the middle of the ice. He turns back into the crowd in front. They score! Patrice Bergeron from Brad Marchand, and Boston has scored first. It's 1-0.
I can kind of see the monitor in the reflection of the window, and I didn't know what was going on until I saw Luongo
But like
there. So that's
put
cool.
Colson, how do you see someone like put Colson fitting in? Do you, because he's a prospect that like a lot of people were debating.
but he's not going to be a Quinn Hughes.
No, obviously, but-
he'll be a solid top 4
Yep.
defenseman. So I don't think he's going to change the team at all, but he's going to come in and support. I think I don't know, someone like Hoglander as well.
Wait, defenseman? Is
That
he
was a guy that played for Sweden.
is
Hoglander.
put Colson not a winger?
Pod Colson's a winger.
Yeah,
Oh.
who?
No,
Oh.
you said. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
did I?
Yeah, it's
No, sorry.
Yeah,
I meant
no, it's
just
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
as in, like I mean, they've actually had it past 3 years. Besser, maybe I shouldn't say Besser anymore. I don't really want to talk about that. But Pettersson and Hughes, like they come in.
Yeah.
They come in. I did say top 4 defenseman. Why did I say top 4 defenseman?
It's okay.
But yeah, no, I don't think they have anyone else like that coming up, and I think that'd be too much to ask. Like the past few years have been phenomenal, and I think they've got good things coming their way.
Do we want to brush quickly on, because our last show before we took the break, we talked about our specific teams, what prospects they have representing their countries at the World Juniors, as well as our World Junior predictions. For Montreal, we saw Matthias Norlinder, Cole Caulfield, Jordan Harris, Alexander Romanov. Vancouver had Hoglander and Podkolzin. Ottawa had Shane Pinto, Lassie Thompson, and
Bernard
Docker. Okay, yeah. I don't know if we want to quickly comment on some of the performances.
You forgot about other notable Ottawa prospects, Quentin Byfield and Alexis Lafreniere. No, I'm joking. Hopefully. Anyways, I was pretty impressed with the play. Very surprised, but impressed with the play of Shane Pinto at the World Juniors. He was one of the go-to players for the United States, sort of played his way onto the team. He wasn't exactly expected to be on there at the beginning of the year as like a fly-on-the-wall second-round pick by Ottawa, but Ottawa clearly saw something there, and the pick looks pretty good so far with Shane Pinto, who was drafted number 32 last year, first pick of the second round. He was very impressive, one of the power play players for the United States. I was a little disappointed with Lassie Thompson on Finland, who was their captain. Finland didn't do great in the tournament, and Lassie Thompson just didn't look as explosive as he has in Finland this year. He's pretty much known for having just a bomb of a shot and being a decent puck mover, and he felt pretty flat at the World Juniors, so hopefully he can rebound a bit. And Bernard Docker was solid for Canada. He was solid.
Luke, do you want to touch on Hoglander or Podkolzin?
I don't know. I'm like I said, I don't know. It's kind of bad to say I don't really pay as much attention to.
No, that's fine.
This stuff than others. I think obviously Hoglander is going to be super fun to watch.
Yeah.
Same thing though. I don't think anyone is going to change the team, but no, it's something to look forward to.
Yep.
Podkolzin again. That one.
He's more controversial with
that
his
was
playing
gonna
style.
yeah. Well, and I mean up until
and
I don't know a few months before the draft, he was projected way higher, and then he drops, and that can be either a good thing or a bad thing. So I don't know. We'll see.
I really like Podkolzin, and I really liked his tournament as well. He was all over the place. For Montreal, Norlinder was an overager when they picked him in 2018. He's had like flashes. I didn't really watch a lot of Sweden's games, if I'm being honest. Jordan Harris performed as well as I thought someone of his ability would perform. The two that people had their eyes on, specifically Cole Caulfield, two things. Scott Sandelin, that was brutal coaching. Turcotte playing on the third line as a left winger.
Zegras on the fourth line.
Kaliev was the 13th forward. He set the team up, which was a really strong USA team, in a position to fail. That being said, I don't blame him entirely for Caulfield's shortcomings. Even when I did see Caulfield, I didn't think he looked good. He wasn't around the ice. So it can be both. Romanov, of course, very impressed with him. But yeah, I thought I had higher hopes for the States coming into the tournament. But Canada won, so it's
so we're happy.
Pretty good.
So we're happy.
Yeah,
bunch of Canadians. Cool.
Speaking of prospects, Lafreniere Byfield, or Lafreniere Stützle, depending on who you ask. I know Button had Stützle at number 2.
I think Craig Button's the only one that has Stützle at number 2.
I feel like people. Yeah. Anyway, how important is it to draft for position, and do you always take the best player available? What do you guys think?
You should never draft for position. I'm sorry.
I agree.
I'm sorry, fan of Team GM by Mark Bergevin. You should absolutely never draft for position.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. You take the best player available. That means you don't take Jesperi Kotkaniemi at number 3. I'm sorry.
You take Brady Tkachuk.
Brady Tkachuk, it looks fine, but Quinn Hughes would.
Yeah,
what if Montreal took Quinn Hughes?
Yeah,
right now?
I was-
What if?
When I made my draft rankings that year, I said I had Quinn Hughes and then I had Kotkaniemi, but I didn't have Kachuk or
Zadina's
Zadina.
even got more points.
But
than
that's the thing is,
Kotkaniemi
like,
this year, doesn't
I
he?
feel like that's he does, but I feel like that's specific to the team because Montreal has wingers. They have Suzuki and Caulfield and Gallagher and Drouin and players that can play on the wing. I wouldn't feel the need to add Zadina to that, despite him being that good. But I feel like
Yes, but if Zadina can be better than all those guys you just named, wouldn't you still like to have that? I think the Toronto
Yeah.
Maple Leafs have proven you can't have enough good wingers, right?
but I'm
good
looking
forward depth, the better.
But if you go through every single draft year and you look at all the teams that picked the best winger available, not first overall, say, but in the middle over a center, like 2014, Dal Cole, Virtanen, Ehlers, Ritchie, Fiala, Perlini, Vrana, and then Julius Honka, and then at 15 was Larkin. Nylander was picked there. The only one who you could say is better than all those would be Nylander.
In general, that's just a terrible draft, right?
Okay, 2015, Lawson Krause, Jake DeBrusk, Dennis Gurianov, Jakub Zboril, and then Senyshyn, who Boston took. Both of those, 16 was Barzal. 2018, the same thing. Jesse Puljujarvi was seen as
But again, I don't think that's so much the center position with the case with Barzal. I think everybody just thought Barzal was too small. That was a big thing. I think Corey Pronman had Barzal as his fifth best player in that draft or something like that. And
Barzal's he's 6 feet.
but it was he's very thin and lanky, like how
Pettersson.
like Pettersson was, right?
Yeah.
There was a
chance to
concern.
bring him
Anyway,
up, I will.
I feel like in a situation it's not terrible to pick a center. Centers are passed up, which was the next point, but we're already here. Centers are passed up so frequently. Pierre-Luc Dubois, Puljujarvi was seen as the perfect complete winger, and Columbus saw a need at center with Pierre-Luc Dubois over Puljujarvi.
I think it's very case by case. It totally depends on how many spots you're moving said position player up or where in the draft you are. I think
If you're doing it in the top 5, that's silly.
Yeah, every year or most years you'd hope there's going to be a few, very select few that are just elite, right? There's those players that some people even say they'll be happy with any of them, and I'm sure you would be. But aside in that grouping, I don't think you'd want to take a guy who you think is going to fit better for your team at risk of losing someone who's
I can
darn
listen
good.
to a draft by position take outside of the first round. I
Sure.
can hear that out.
Yeah, that's fine.
But anywhere, I can literally almost hear it after pick 25 or something. But when you're in the top 10 or the top 5, you are playing a dangerous game if you're drafting for position that early.
So
I agree.
So yeah, that year, although an old tweet, thank you, Kyle Cushman, resurfaced where I put Zadina first and then Hughes and then Kotkaniemi.
KMN is our stats team.
Yes, thank you, Kyle, for making me look like an idiot. But I feel like the comparison of Hughes. Now, I will be clear. I really wanted Hughes. He addresses a need. He was the better pick in hindsight and the better pick
pretty
now.
good.
That being said, though, you can't say that Tkachuk or Zadina or whoever are better than Kotkaniemi right now when not all of them are in the NHL. I think that one guy went to the AHL.
Sorry.
So
Can you clarify that?
no,
No.
no,
Okay.
nah.
All right.
It's
No
not.
worries.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy time.
Because did you
here.
just say Kotkaniemi? You know what? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyways.
Anyways.
But point. Okay. But
The viewers
in
heard
all
it.
seriousness, you can't compare them all right now.
No, you still need a bit more
You need time, and I do think there's a possibility that Kotkaniemi could be the better hockey player than Brady Tkachuk. I think it's a possibility. You can't rule that out now and say for a fact that it's not going to be a.
I don't know. I still
Anything's
think,
a possibility.
Yeah, anything's a possibility, but I still think if you ask most people who were scouting experts in that draft year, they would have told you Brady Tkachuk was going to be a better hockey player than Jesperi Kotkaniemi.
A lot of
And I
scouting
think that's
experts had
showing
him
right
at
now.
7 or 8.
Pat, if
Correct. Yeah.
if you could choose free of charge to either keep Kotkaniemi or swap with Brady Tkachuk, what would you do right now?
Because Montreal doesn't have any centers and they haven't had one since Koivu, who even at that point was like a high-end second-line center, I'm keeping the center. I'm keeping Jesperi Kotkaniemi. Would I swap him for Quinn Hughes? Absolutely, 100%.
Okie dokes. All right.
I need like a.
Is that?
Are you gonna clip that or something?
I need. What I needed was like a zoom up of Luke's face, like it's on the program right now, as Pat was saying that.
Again,
If we had somebody in here working the
see that
cameras,
program.
cameras right up there.
Hello.
And also, I don't know if you guys were aware, he is 19.
Oh boy.
Like
Okay.
like Tkachuk went in and was playing top 6 power play minutes. He's already filled out. He's
Yeah, but even Brady Tkachuk's underlyings are very, very strong, whereas Jesperi Kotkaniemi has been like diabolical this year at both ends of the ice.
I'm not saying he's had a good year. I would be the first to admit he hasn't played well.
Like even if you look at this year, Brady Tkachuk, Brady Tkachuk's got like no teammates with him, right? And he's driving like his own lines.
Yeah, you could argue the same for Kotkaniemi. He's playing with Jordan Wheel and Nick Cousins and Matthew Pekka and Dale Weiss. He hasn't played top 6 at all. He gets 10 seconds of power play time a game. Like the difference is, I'm not denying that Tkachuk's line mates aren't good. I know they aren't, but the difference is Tkachuk had already filled out. It's easier for wingers to come in. He's a year older, and he went into top 6 power play minutes. Jesperi Kotkaniemi went into third line with AHL or very low quality NHL wingers. That's the difference. So right now, that's what I'm saying is like you can't compare the two. You have to wait 5 years when Tkachuk is more established, when Kotkaniemi is more established.
I don't know. I feel like we can do like a whole hour show on this one.
Definitely could.
We're
Every week
we're
we'll
going to agree to disagree right now.
We'll circle back and ask, is Kotkaniemi good yet?
We'll try this again in a decade.
I will give Kotkaniemi one thing, one leg up on Tkachuk. He's got more points than him in the AHL.
Yeah. Take that, man.
There you go.
To the next thing, if we still want to be on prospects or young players who are 19 or younger than 19 or older than 19, doesn't matter. Lafreniere, Byfield, that's been the discussion. Who do you guys have number 1? It seems to be the consensus is Lafreniere. Yeah. There are people out there who think Byfield should go number 1. What do you guys think?
For me, it was always going to be Lafreniere's spot to lose, and he's done nothing but show growth this year, and he hasn't really lost that spot. He's done nothing to lose that spot, lose the right to be the number 1 overall pick. So I think until something crazy like that happens, he's got to be the first overall pick to me.
Yep.
But I think stuff like Craig Button does, where he puts Stützle ahead of Byfield, like Lafreniere is the clear-cut number 1, Byfield is the clear-cut number 2, and then there's the rest. Like I think something like what Craig Button did is just like literally clickbait stuff. Like to me, that's just ridiculous. It's the same thing when Sam Cosentino from Sportsnet put
Sam
Capo
Cosentino is not.
Yeah, but he put Capo Caco at number 1 last year, and everybody knows not because he thought Capo Caco was better. It's because he was doing it for clicks, and
there were a lot of people like
Sam Cosentino at the end of the day is very similar to Craig Button.
I don't think so at all.
I think the Kako Hughes divide was much smaller than this year's. I think most people would.
Yeah, I don't think
a
lot. I think a lot of people had Kako pretty high. Some people had him, but
sure.
I wouldn't compare. Like Craig Button, he says some stuff, and maybe some of his rankings are a little whack, but I don't think he's comparable to Sam Cosentino. Like Craig Button, at the end of the day, still knows his stuff. Sam Cosentino, like,
I don't know. So, anyways, back to this year's draft, Pat.
Okay, yeah. Luke, Lafreniere, Byfield.
No, I don't have much to say. I agree with Nick. Lafreniere.
Okay, well, if we want to keep talking about this year's draft, we want to move on to the All-Star game.
We'll get there. Go ahead.
But yeah, no, this is an interesting draft for sure. It's very forward heavy. I've been trying to work out my top 10, but it's very difficult. But I also have Lafreniere going first. I don't think he's that far ahead of Quinton Byfield, and I think the whole World Junior thing for Byfield, I feel like that's not really a fair evaluation of him. He barely played. He's also a year younger.
Correct. Yeah. No, that was the big thing for me. You can't say, oh, look how much better Lafreniere is, because this was Lafreniere's second World Junior tournament. And he's the full year older, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's about it.
All right, All-Star Weekend, Nick.
Did you guys like All-Star Weekend?
No.
I did.
Yeah, you know,
I always like
Pat,
All-Star
what
Weekend.
specifically didn't you like about it?
Well, I didn't watch it.
Well, that
So
All right, well,
That
no,
might
but
be
like
it.
I don't enjoy the All-Star game, and I don't enjoy
when was the last time you did watch it? Like sat down and paid attention to it.
probably 2010.
So why don't you try again?
yeah.
I
How
watched.
can you-
no,
how
I,
can
no,
you
okay,
fairly
no,
judge
no,
All-Star games if
I
you
watched.
don't
No,
watch
no,
them?
sorry, I lied. I watched one of the 3-on-3s whenever that was introduced, whether it was 2 years ago. Whenever they first introduced 3-on-3, I watched that one. But I watched part of the skills competition, got bored, turned it off, watched the 3-on-3 in the background. But like I don't know, I find it boring. I find the skills competition boring. I feel like the players and they keep adding gimmicks. Like before they had the actual targets that they had to shoot, then they had like the virtual
I agree
target
with that.
and like
That's really
Well,
dumb.
we're going to get to that point.
it seems like it's getting gimmicky, but I've just never
I think it's
been
cool that
interested.
they're trying stuff.
But that's just like a personal thing. I've never liked watching it.
Okay, so I am a big sucker for like I don't know if Ottawa or Montreal does it, but they'll like post YouTube videos of like behind the scenes on a road trip or in the locker room or something.
Yeah, Ottawa does some of that stuff.
I love seeing players'
Yeah.
personalities.
Yep.
I think it's really cool. I love mic'd up videos. So I prefer. Well, I don't prefer. I like watching the All-Star or the skills competition more than the game itself.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the skills competition is just fun to watch. I don't really care about the events as much. But I can say a few years ago when what was it called? The penalty shot challenge?
Oh, like the breakaway challenge.
challenge.
Yeah.
That's with all the personality in that was awesome.
Patrick Kane,
And,
Superman.
Yeah, like I'm on the side that the NHL has the least personality out of North American sports, and
Yeah.
I think that was one of the few things they did that added personality, and then naturally they got rid of it. So that's kind of unfortunate, but I
As
still
they do.
like it. I think it's fun. The All-Star game itself, I wish, and I can't blame them for not trying, but if you watch hockey, you can 100% tell they're just kind of out for a skate.
Right.
I don't like that. I don't know if people wanted, like, if they wanted to add implications on it as like the MLB All-Star game or something, but that's
And it's weird if you look back at previous All-Star games, how intense it was. Like that was like a bitter rivalry, and it was aggressive. To see how crazy it changed
because
over
I
the years.
like how
Well, obviously they don't want to get
how
injured.
old
Obviously,
are you thinking?
like who was it?
Yeah, like I think the players are just starting to realize it's pointless. There's no point in risking
Right.
injury.
Yeah.
So I don't have a solution to my complaint. I'm just saying I wish they tried.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I just think Pat is right and wrong with what he said.
Well,
Like, I'm still gonna watch the All-Star game. Like, I think most people are. It's still like an event to see, but there's no question that the NHL's is the worst. Like they are in most things, the worst out of the top American or North American sports. The All-Star game especially really lacks any flair, personality that sort of, I would say the NBA All-Star game is great, and it's great. It doesn't have any stakes to it, but again, it's fun. The skills competition for the NBA especially too, like things like the dunk challenge, like that's when players really show who they are and all that. And, the MLB All-Star game is good because that's players showing their abilities. Now, one thing I think would be fantastic, and I don't know if this could ever happen. I don't know how feasible this is, but hear me out. The MLS All-Star game, Major League Soccer, happens every, I think, August. And what they do is they group the best players. Doesn't have to be one from each team represented, but they get the best players in the league. The fans vote on the entire team. And they face a team from Europe. So they will face somebody like Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid recently they did, Bayern Munich. Those are like big European teams. And they face the best MLS players in a game. If the NHL were to try and strike an agreement with the KHL or somebody like that, you were to play the NHL All-Star game or All-Star team against the KHL All-Star team,
that would be cool.
that would be intense. That would make it tense.
I would be on board for that.
Yeah?
yeah.
That'd be a much bigger ordeal. Like league structure-wise. But no, I think that'd be
that's
pretty neat.
that's how you bring intensity back. For personality, they would have to remodify a lot of the skills competition. The Shooting Stars event was cool because there was at least the image of the players walking through the stands to get up to the targets.
There's a lot of
cool.
potential with that one. I agree.
Yeah, they just have to redo the rules. I think like the targets have to be different. Like the big 10-pointer thing was silly.
Yeah.
Because everybody just shot for that. So there's work they can do.
To add, I don't like the NHL suspending a player one game for not attending. Like Ovechkin, I don't like that because hang on, because like Ovechkin decided not to go, and he got suspended one game. That's not fair. Like if players want,
correct.
No, but
okay.
Let me.
Sorry.
Because if players want to like rest their body, Ovechkin is not young. If he wants to relax and have some sort of therapy day and just take care of his body, because the wear and tear of being an NHL player is not easy. He should be able to do that without having to sacrifice a regular season game. I think taking care of your own body and missing an All-Star game is more important than pleasing the fans.
I would have agreed with you up until I saw what Matthews did for this game.
Yes, correct.
I didn't
Correct.
know that was an option.
Fair.
Matthews said, I'm not playing in the game. I will go to St. Louis, and he didn't get suspended. I think that's great. Like, that's really good on Matthews to kind of like that's I feel like there's a lot of parity there. Like he's like, I don't want to play the games, I don't want to participate because probably for what you're saying, like injuries or rest in your body or whatever, but he went and he participated in all the off ice stuff. I think that was great.
The other thing with that too, at the end of the day, you know, while hockey's a good sport and we all like watching it, the NHL is a business, and this is one of the biggest money makers for the National Hockey League, and they need all the stars there. That's without all the stars there, that makes this event pointless. That makes the All-Star game, all the money they can make, they just can't have any of it. So no matter what, they're going to need the superstars there. So when you have one as high profile as Ovechkin sit out every year, I think you need that punishment, because at the end of the day, Ovechkin's just saying, I don't want to be part of your marketing scheme that is the All-Star game. He's therefore potentially losing the money. I get it. I don't like it. I like seeing the good players play every night, but I get why the NHL does it. You have to look at hockey as a business. You have to look at the NHL like that.
Like losing money, sure, but like would anyone not go because one player sat out? I think a lot of players enjoy going to the All-Star game and enjoy being a part of the festivities.
They have to set the
boundaries.
but
But
you have to,
but
like,
it's his own.
Okay, but say you were going to go to the NHL All-Star game. Who's your favorite player on the Habs, Pat?
He's in the AHL.
We're gonna send Jesperi Kotkaniemi's going to the All-Star game.
Let's say Nick Suzuki.
The NHL has selected Nick Suzuki to go to the NHL All-Star game.
So depressing.
You're there. You're ready. You're gonna buy your tickets. Okay, wait. Nick Suzuki doesn't want to play in the All-Star game. He wants to take time to heal some injury.
He's a free human who can make his own choice. And
okay,
if he wants to take care of his body, he can do that.
Instead, we're gonna send John Durin to the All-Star game.
Fine.
Are you still gonna go?
Yeah. Or no, I don't know. Like, yeah, I would, but like in general, I wouldn't go to an All-Star game unless it was like free. I wouldn't pay for that.
Okay,
and
but
I wouldn't not go because a
Caps,
player didn't go.
Ovi down to Oshie, that's a big drop off. I know the Caps fans like Oshie, but that's a big drop off.
I wouldn't.
I don't know. I don't think we can really determine what like the ticket buying behaviors are for fans, and I'm most of the people in attendance were probably in the St. Louis area. I'm not really familiar with people flying out to go see the All-Star game.
Say if I had the money and the resources to go to the All-Star game, I wouldn't have gone if Jean-Gabriel Pageau was the Senators' representative. I probably would have gone for Duclair or Tkachuk.
And I understand the business side. You have to entertain. You have to do all this stuff. But I feel like as an athlete, you still should be able to make your own decision if it's better for your own health or safety without sacrificing a game.
Okay,
I
so
think
if
that's
it's
just
for their
awesome.
health or safety, why can't they just take a game off?
Well,
so one game suspension,
because
they
the
just
All-Star
take a
game-
game off.
Because players risk injury and they give it all during a regular season game or the playoffs. They play through insane injuries that they wouldn't risk at an All-Star game. That's just messing around and shooting pucks and stuff. Like, if they don't want to be there, they should have the right to not be there. It's just a person. It's just
we're just not going to agree on this one. Is there anything you guys would do to fix the All-Star game, like I posed earlier?
This is a hot take. I don't think there should be a representative from every team.
Yeah, I'd be
Yep.
fine with that.
Yeah,
I would
I
be
agree with
mostly
that.
fine
Okay, I
with
guess
that.
that's
You
not a
need
hot
you need the
take,
best
I don't know.
players, especially if we go with like the format I proposed earlier, where it's like a bigger event.
I mean, if they were to do that, they'd have to either like the KHL would have to say, okay, we'll do one from each team as
Yeah.
well. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Actually.
Yeah, so yeah, no, I don't disagree with that one. I mean, it sucks for like some fan bases, but again, it's the marketing thing. I get why the
Yeah.
NHL does it, and I don't mind
I
it.
think, but I don't think it should be fan vote either. I'm fine with fan vote for captains, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I guess that's what they did.
or the
this
last
year.
man in is fine too.
Yeah, last man. But the NHL like pre-picks who you can vote for, right?
Yeah.
But I like, my ideal situation would be fan vote for captains, and then the NHL picks
No, I
just
guess
the best players,
we'll
not one from each
also
team.
mention the bigger story of the weekend.
Here's a break for Rebecca Johnston from Subway, and she scores. And Canada takes the early lead, and they have to make quick changes because there won't be a stop in play here except to drop.
So for the first time in NHL All-Star Game history, there were the elite women's athletes from the Canadian national team and the United States national team. What did you guys make of the ladies at the All-Star Game?
Thought it was great. Yeah, like
Pat, did you watch that?
oh
No,
yeah.
I didn't watch the All-Star game.
Okay. So Pat didn't watch. Luke, did you enjoy seeing the women play?
Yes. I think I don't really have any complaints. I think it was a great idea. One thing I would say is maybe like I just feel like they kind of wedged it into the skills competition.
Right.
I don't know what the scheduling was or anything, but I don't know. Maybe they could have given them like an actual game slot. But regardless, that's awesome to see. That's a big step, and yeah, I think it's just gonna keep going up from where it is. So
Yeah, no, I enjoyed seeing it mostly because it was fun to see actual competitive hockey on that weekend. You can
Yeah.
tell both teams really wanted to show
yeah, like
well.
it was a good, regardless of men's or women's, that was a good game. So
Yeah, it was a good showing, and again, we're happy that Canada did win that too. But would you like to see other countries represented in the future for women? So like some Swedish athletes, some Finnish, and like you do like a
Yeah.
mini tournament.
yes, I don't know. Like yes, I'm not sure if they can do it at All-Star Weekend. I think again they should kind of get their own platform because it felt a bit crammed. But I don't blame them. It makes sense for the first time. But no, I'd love to see some sort of. I mean, they do have championships and stuff, but I'd love to see some sort of fun little tournament like that. Maybe throw it in on the Sunday or something because they moved that around a few years ago. But
Yeah, and overall, I thought it was a really good showcase of the talented women because at the end of the day, I know a lot of people online were saying, oh, well, if you all like this, like you need to support the NWHL that already exists and blah, blah, blah. There's like a lot of fake support being thrown around. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is like that just doesn't get the same marketing and coverage that this event did because it's under the NHL umbrella. So I think it was good of the NHL and they did a really good job marketing the whole thing. And I tweeted out after, like my own personal connection to it was like, for instance, I hadn't heard of a lot of the players. I just don't watch that much women's hockey, admittedly, and had never heard of the name Anne-Renee Desbiens, Canadian goalie. But I'm never going to forget that now because of how awesome she was at the game. So good on the NHL for that. Good on the women. And hopefully we get to see more of it soon. Would you go as far as to include them in the men's game the next day? I know that was a suggestion thrown around.
Like
Pat, you can chime in on this
at
too.
the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that
you
idea.
put them on the teams with them.
I like
Because
that
at the
idea.
end of the day,
thought of
it's a
that.
scrimmage, basically. So
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't
see
heard of that
Sidney
until
Crosby
now, but
hit Marie-Philippe Poulin with a stretch pass.
Yeah. Yep.
That'd be kind of cool.
I think that
I know there's a lot of concern that would go into that
Yeah.
from the NHL about injuries and all that, but that's something I think would be pretty cool. I'd like to see that. I'd like to at least try it, but I don't think the hockey men will ever go for it.
yeah, I think you're right. There's a lot of things to work out for that. But no, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. All right. Patrick, you got anything else for us?
We had this was just filler if we didn't have time before we run the lottery simulator. Players calling out their team. What do we think of that? Matthew
Yeah, so
Price Price has done it before. Jack Eichel did it before when Dan Bilesman was the head coach. If not the team, they would say something along the lines of, we don't have our identity, sort of indirect comments like that. What do we think about it, good or bad?
I don't like it if I never know the situation. Fans never know the situation, but I don't like it if they do it and that's the first that the team is kind of hearing of it.
Well, how we wouldn't know unless that's why they have closed doors meetings.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know, but I'm just saying I hope when players call out their team, like players have, I think it would be. I'm all for it if it's kind of a team consensus, but sometimes there are people that will just go into a post-game interview and they I don't think I've ever seen someone name names, but they get pretty finger pointy out there, and obviously that's never good.
I like it. Sorry, Nick.
I really like it. I am all for flair and all that. I think I think players are definitely entitled to call out their teams, especially the stars when they're being dragged down by teammates. So I'm all for it.
Yep.
Personally.
I like it. It happened. Eichel did it, and sometimes it's a wake-up call for the GM or the owner who may sort of be oblivious to that kind of stuff, but what's really going on in the room. And for a star player to say that something is wrong and indirectly kind of suggest that maybe it's a coach, maybe it's maybe they need players. Coaches do it too. Coaches say, I didn't have a lot of help tonight. You know, like Claude Julien's made remarks about Montreal's defense. Like players and coaches do that, and it can be a wake up to the GM or the owner to say, you know what, I need to surround my star players with better people. Maybe the room needs a shake up. Maybe it needs a new voice in the room. Stuff like that is important.
All right.
So I do like it.
So, I think I want to do this weekly, in the lead up to the draft lottery. Yeah. We're going to run the simulator once at the end of each show. So, Pat, I will tell you when.
Once, or can I do it?
We're going to run it once.
Currently, at number 3, the Edmonton Oilers. And we have a winner. The first overall pick in the 2015 NHL Draft belongs to the Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers have picked first overall 3 times in the national.
I could do it because I don't have any skin in the game, but
it was a nice little throwback there to when the Edmonton Oilers pulled off the heist this century
and got nowhere with
Poor
it.
Buffalo Sabres, how things could have been different for them.
Is this showing up?
It's like
yeah. So I'm gonna put
go.
it live here for those video streaming. Our NHL Draft Lottery Simulator from Tankathon.
Yes.
And today's winner. And the Buffalo
Vancouver?
Sabres have won the NHL Draft Lottery. They get the first overall pick.
No, Minnesota jumped
The
7.
Minnesota Wild jump
high
up
did-
7 places.
I
And the Ottawa Senators come in 3rd place, winning the 3rd lottery.
And Montreal came in 9th.
Montreal comes 9th. So Ottawa picks twice before
Where's San
Montreal.
Jose?
Haha.
Sorry, where was San Jose? I can't.
The San Jose pick
see
is
it.
number 8.
Okay.
But that belongs to Ottawa.
Yep, I know. Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Just making sure.
Can we do it one more time?
No, we're gonna do it once at the end of each show.
I want to do it now.
Once. So we coming up for anybody's teams. Anybody got anything they are looking forward to this week in hockey?
No.
Yes, I do. As per usual, Vancouver's flying. Nothing wrong out west. I think they're 14-3-1 in their last 18. So I'm good. I'm vibing.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. You're right.
That's not
pretty
bad.
good.
My main takeaway from the following week. I don't know about you guys. It's just I was.
That happened.
Yeah, that was a thing.
Okay. Well, I would like to say
Yeah.
that there are some teams with some games in hand on the Habs with just a couple points
Are
back.
you still hoping for the playoffs?
Nope.
Oh, you are
I'm the
doing this
opposite.
to say they could get more points than you.
I don't like.
They could get Lafreniere. It's possible.
I don't like cheering for a tank.
I do. It's awesome.
Is
It's
it-
kind of
is it
fun.
awesome?
When you're
Is it
watching Montreal
awesome,
games
though?
now, are you sad when Montreal scores?
No, because it's cool when someone like Suzuki scores or someone young and it's a cool goal, fine. But I want them to lose at this point.
But so when you're watching games, you're cheering for Montreal to lose?
Yeah.
Well, no matter what happens, nobody's catching the Detroit Red Wings.
Well, yeah, you can't sell your
20
soul like
points.
that. Like Detroit's-
Ottawa is still 20 points or 18 points ahead of them, but we'll have more tank talk next week on Take to Take. Thank you for joining us this week, and we will catch you all next time. Thanks for tuning in.